Senator Rick Scott from Florida. Senator, let's just start off with a really important question. If you had an employee call in for work, say he couldn't work on Monday because he wanted to watch the eclipse, would you trust him more or less?
I think it's important to show up to work.
There you go.
So
Greg?
if they were honest, that'd be better, right?
I agree.
If they
So
would
that's
say,
obviously.
You
I
got to
could
ask the
say,
senator.
please.
Senator, are you going to see the eclipse? Like, are you going to put on the
Will
funky
you pay
glasses and look at
attention?
it?
Yes.
I'm going to be very cautious.
See, me
eyesight's
too.
pretty darn
I don't want to
important.
burn my retinas. I don't understand why everybody's all into this. Anyway, so Senator and I are
No,
aligned
I'm
on
going to
this
be
one.
very cautious. I want my eyesight. I mean, so I got a lot. The way I look at life, I got a lot of stuff left to do, so I got to take care of myself.
Well, can we ask you this one, actually, a real a politics question for a second? When you see that there's a whole news cycle earlier in this week about how the Democrats think Florida's in play and they're targeting Florida and they can flip Florida, you know this state as well as anybody politically. What's your response to that when the New York Times and others are running with it?
You know, you always have to take everything seriously, and you always have to run like, you don't have, you're behind and stuff like that. Think about it. People are happy in Florida. They're way happier than they are in, most of the country. And they're happy because the Republican leadership in the state has worked. So, and look, we now have 900,000 more registered Republicans. Think about it. When I won in 2010 for governor, there were 568,000 more Democrats and Republicans. So, I mean, what are they going to run on? They can't run on the border. They can't run on inflation. They can't run on having a great commander in chief. So, they have nothing to run on.
How optimistic? I know you've got to win re-election, and I know Senator Ted Cruz does in Texas as well. And those are the two states that probably, if Democrats are trying to talk about picking up seats, they would talk about your seats. I think you guys are going to both win comfortably. Obviously, you have to win, but how optimistic are you about the larger market out there for available potential Republican pickup seats? And do you expect for Republicans to be in the majority come early November when Election Day actually gets here?
No, you're absolutely right. The only two competitive seats that we have to defend are Texas and Florida. And Ted's working hard, and we're going to work hard, and we're going to win. We're going to pick up West Virginia, so that gets us to 50 Republicans. The next one I believe we'll pick up is Bernie Moreno will win against Sherrod Brown in Ohio. And then the other ones we should win. We should win Montana. Tester doesn't vote the way Montana goes, so we should be able to pick up there. We have a great chance to pick up in Nevada and Arizona. Then the others, we have other opportunities that just get harder. Pennsylvania's harder state to win. Wisconsin, Michigan are harder, but we've got a lot of pickup opportunities. I think Trump he's run a great primary. I think he's going to run a great general election. I think that's going to help us, win a majority in the Senate and keep a majority in the House. I mean, look, he's winning the swing states right now, and it's not like he's getting worse. He's getting better because Biden continues to get hammered over the border, inflation. I mean, his response to Israel is a disaster.
You just got back, Senator, from Israel, is my understanding. What did you learn over there, and what is the sense from the Israeli government, the Israeli people, about how this is being supported and handled by Biden on a foreign policy level?
Well, first off, it's sad because I talk to people I talk to American families that have hostages. It's uplifting when you see what the government is doing to fight Hamas and how they've come together to destroy Hamas. So it's all those things. I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I met with the Gallant, the defense minister. I met with IDF. I went to Kfar Aza, because I've been into before, where 63 people were killed, babies were beheaded, people were burned alive, women were raped. I also went to where the music festival is. So here's the takeaway. My takeaway is this. Israel is committed to destroy Hamas. Whether Joe Biden supports them or not, Hamas will be destroyed. They're going to go into Rafah. They have to go into Rafah to destroy Hamas. It's going to happen. That's number one. Number two is we've got to hold Qatar accountable. Qatar is hosting the leadership of Hamas right now, and they have an American military base there. That does not make sense. So Qatar has to be held accountable. Iran has to be held accountable. They're the cause of all these problems. Then America, Democrats have got to start saying they support the only democracy in the Middle East, or one of our strongest allies in the world, Israel, and they've got to stop these games and say we support Israel and we agree they have to destroy Hamas. I hope the president eventually will start talking about the American hostages being held right now, because he doesn't. But I'm optimistic for Israel. I'm optimistic that they're going to destroy Hamas. And it makes you feel good when you go to a country and they're together. They do want their hostages home, but they know they have to destroy Hamas.
We're talking to Senator Rick Scott. You hit on something that I can't believe is not a bigger story. When Jimmy Carter, there were hostages in Iran during the 1980 presidential campaign. It was one of the top focuses of everyone in the media. There was tons of attention on it. There are still now 5 American hostages. They've been held since October 7th. We're coming up on a 6-month anniversary of their being in prison. Certainly the same thing is taking place for 125 some odd others as well. Why do you think the American media has not covered this? And if we had a Republican in the White House, do you think the fact that there are still 5 American hostages would actually be covered far more? In other words, is this partly to protect Joe Biden from the consequences of his failure to get them home?
I think the Biden doesn't care. Look, whether you like Jimmy Carter or thought he was a good president or not, he wasn't a great president, but he actually did care about the American hostages. And so when he tried, he failed when he tried to get them, but he at least tried. I have not seen Biden lift a finger to get the American hostages home. All he's done is tried to disparage Netanyahu, like Schumer said, we got to get rid of Netanyahu. It's like he supports Hamas more than he supports Israel. So I think that if Trump was president, there would be an unbelievable focus on what can we do to get these hostages home. But in fact, I don't actually believe Hamas would have invaded, because first off, Iran wouldn't have had all the money to give to Hamas in the Houthis and Hezbollah. So this would not be, if Trump was president, we wouldn't even be having these conversations because Hamas would never have invaded.
Speaking to Senator Rick Scott of Florida, Senator, one more for you. Just, I know you have a background as a very successful businessman. I was asked this by a friend of mine in the business community earlier today. He's just like, what do I think Trump is going to have at the top of the agenda to do things that will, or to push in the direction of economic growth and to help the business community, specifically small businesses, and encourage entrepreneurship and growth? What do you think? I mean, what could be done to start to supercharge this economy other than drill, baby, drill, which I know is on the energy side certainly helpful, but on the business side, is there any legislation or any change in policy that you think could really pay dividends, so to speak, starting in 2025?
I'll tell you what changes the business climate. It's a regulatory environment. When I became governor in 2010, we had 1.1 million homes in foreclosure. People were leaving our state because they couldn't get a job. 8 years later, we had added 1.7 million jobs. The biggest thing I did is reduce 20% of the regulations in the state. I think the biggest thing Trump's going to do is he's going to completely change the regulatory environment. It's all on who he's going to appoint to run these agencies, and he's going to fight to reduce the regulations. I mean, we've got to extend the Trump tax cuts. There's things like that are important, but the truth is, most of it is you've got a federal government that, from a regulatory standpoint, is completely out of control. And what's going to happen is that's all going to change the day Trump takes office. The day he takes office, he's going to secure the border. He's going to dramatically change the regulatory environment. That's going to jumpstart this economy again.
Senator Rick Scott with us, just back from Israel. Obviously, you're running for re-election. We expect you to win comfortably. Encourage everybody in Florida to get out and vote for you. If the president asked you for your suggestions on vice president, probably a couple of months away or so from when he makes that decision, who do you think makes the most sense as a part of that ticket for Trump?
I think he should wait and say who will help him win the election. Because if you don't win the election, you don't govern, right? So I think what he did in 2016 by picking Pence, I think Pence helped him win the election. I think what's important now is I think Trump needs to take his time and say, okay, let's look at where the electoral votes are right now. Who will help him win the election? That's the most important thing he's got to win. And so I couldn't tell you who it will be because I couldn't tell you exactly today what issues are going to be the most important, what state's going to be the most important to try to make sure he wins. But he made a good decision in 2016, and I think he'll make a good choice this time.
Senator Rick Scott, appreciate you being with us, sir. Good luck.
All right. Have a great day. Take care.
You know, it's harder than ever to stay current with everyday bills. Things are so expensive. Look at what we're just talking about with the grocery store, 30% more for the same stuff you were buying 4 years ago. A lot of families out there have run up credit card debt. What can you do about this? Those APR rates are just sky high. So there's something you can do. If you own a home and you want to pay off that credit card bill, call our friends at American Financing. Interest rates have dropped into the fives, which are moving in the right direction. They're saving their customers an average of $854 a month by tapping into their home's equity and wiping out high-interest credit card debt. Call American Financing and take care of that today. And if you call today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. Call American Financing at 800-777-8109. That's 800-777-8109. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net online. That's AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 start at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 800-777-8109 for details about credit costs and terms.